Good evening, everybody. So let us start our lecture tonight. And according to our schedule, you see that we are at the last quarter. Okay, so we have only few more topics, mainly 4 topics that we need to cover: file input-out operation, threads and parallel processing, and BST, binary search tree. So actually file IO operation is part of Java programming, object-oriented programming. So every programming language like C++, Word, C# or Java maintain their own classes, class hierarchy and methods to do file input-output operations. So we will discuss for Java and C# as well as. And actually parallel processing, threads and parallel processing is a separate and broad topic. So we will give you an introduction to these topics. And BST also, that is a part of linked list data structure. Okay, so hopefully we will finish our all of our course content before the Thanksgiving break, and after that we will review. By the way, next week is your test 3, right? Next week this time. Okay, so test 3 will cover week 7 to 10. Week 7 we discuss reference parameter, recursion, and then linked list, tag, and queue we will cover. Okay, I've already passed study guide on D2L. Please follow the study guide on D2L. But one thing, remember that this time your test will not be exactly similar to the previous semester's test. Okay, there will be some different and you have to study. I gave some hints in the previous lectures. So please follow. If needed, then go back to my recorded lecture, then you can follow. So in our last lecture we discussed exception handling. One thing, remember that I told maybe that exception handling mechanism is also different. There are slightly different mechanism in C# and Java. Okay, especially we discussed the last mainly the interview question, checked and unchecked exception. Those are mainly for Java, but C# has checked and unchecked keyword. Those keywords are used to define checked and unchecked block. So Patrick, you were absent in last lecture, right? So please follow my recorded lecture. Okay. So if we go to our slides, so hopefully tonight we will discuss about file IO operations. This is under lecture 18. Okay. So the title, it says that file input output operations. That means in contrast with the traditional programs so far we discussed, we created our variables. Those variables are called transient variables or temporary variables. All variables are by default transient or temporary. That when we declare a variable, that during program execution time, that variables take place on a memory and holds data on that memory. And when we retrieve data from that memory place by calling the variable name, okay, we can use that. But there is a major limitation is that when we close our program, when we terminate our program, that data, all of the data go away. So in order to hold data persistently, we use database or files. You know that. So for instance, you are familiar with text files, image Word file, image Word documents, Excel sheet, or database. So those are mainly used. Those are the example of using data files. So in our So in our program, so in this module, we will discuss how to mainly create a data file. Okay, first we need to create a data file if that does not exist, and if the data file exists, then we need to open the data file. Okay, then once we open data file, then we can write on it or we can read from it. So we have two operations, read and write, mainly two operations. Like there is another operation that is called edit operation. Sometimes you have some data in a data file that if you want to change that data, either keep it or do some modification. After modification, you need to save the data file. Those are the mainly three operations: input operations, output operations. Means input operation means writing on a data file. Then input operations means reading from a data file. Okay, and we may need to edit a data file. So in order to do these operations, all programming languages, C++, C#, Java, all languages, even Python and all languages, they maintain their class hierarchy, their own classes and then some methods. In general, those files, most of the classes are built in the programming languages. So one thing that so far we are familiar with write line or system.out and print line, these methods, right? Write line methods and print line methods. These are used to display data only on monitor screen. Okay. Okay, and we are also familiar with read line method in C# and system.eat in the read method and using scanner in Java. So it depends on what do we want with the data file, whether we want to read from a data file or whether we write to a data file, or whether we want to edit data file. There are, based on this operation, there are some modes for data file operation. For instance, read mode, write mode, and append mode. Append mode is the edit mode. Okay, and create is creating new data file. So mainly we will focus on read and write operations. And one thing that we need to remember, that after working on any data file, this is the thing that we need to do, that we need to close our data file. So data file operations require exception handling mechanism. So as we know that there is a block in exception handling where we can put the file close operation. Can anyone remember that block name? Finally block. You remember the finally block? We said finally block executes whether or not an exception happens. Okay, so in the finally block we use the usually write the data file closing methods file.close, file name, file stream, file name.close in the finally block. That happens after the execution or operation of data file. We need to close the data file. We should close the data file. Otherwise, if our program does not close the data file, the next program or another program will not be able to use or open the data file. So data files operations does not happen concurrently, so it happens separately. Even a few milliseconds or 1 millisecond is a matter for data file operation. Think about for one line transaction. If you have some money in your account and if you try to transfer the money to a different account or withdraw the money simultaneously using different ATM machine, and if you try with your friend and they'll do parallelly same time, if you want to hit say 1 2 3 and click, will you be able to get your money from both sides? No, because in this case the system happens that every millisecond matters. So as a human being it's not possible to click at the same time. Okay, so that is called data operations are atomic. If you take your advanced level course, it is a database course actually, then you will learn that. Okay, one thing that I want to focus also this one. We will see in a live program how do we do data file operations. One thing that you saw, like when you type in something in your MS Word or anywhere, there is a blinking active is called, what is that called, indicator. We call this cursor, right? So wherever the cursor blinks, whenever we type in, the something is printed over there, right? Okay, so like similarly for file operation there is another indicator that is called active cursor that moves around the file like this way, around the file one by either one by one character or either one by one line, okay, or especially either by character or line or by word. So what actually the concept is that whatever, when you open a data file, whatever we have in our file, for instance, these are the items, for instance, why it does not allow me to write here. For instance, when you have a data file, open data file, if we select everything, select wall, okay, then we can select all of the content at a time as a string that is set in a string, put in a string, or what we can do, we can read by character, or we can read word by word, or we can read line by line. Okay, sometime when we write word by word, then the program uses is called delimiter, that is the blank space or comma to separate the words. For instance, when we read or write, we use space, right, to separate the words. So the concept of reading a data file is that we should know the structure of the file. For instance, what kind of file we are opening, we are creating. Maybe it is a notepad file or text file or word file or database file. So we know that every different kind of files have different kind of extension name, right? A txt file, Excel file, MS document file. And then in order to do, let us file do operation, we need to see the file structure, and then we need to see, is it one element per line or multiple elements per line or the combination of the two. That I discussed that, whether we want to read one element like this, each of the characters, or multiple elements. If we say each of the character is an element, so multiple elements mean a word, and I will have multiple elements, or a combination of some, like for instance a line or line by line. Okay, if it is multiple elements, how are the fields divided? For instance, if we consider multiple elements here, so in general we can use space as a delimiter, as a separator, or you can, in some database file there is comma is used as, or a single or a special character can be used to make a separator, a comma or semicolon. Okay, are the field of defined size such as first name in first 10, last name in next 20? Actually, this is the concept for older kind of data file formation, so maybe we can avoid this one. Sometime I will give an example. For instance, when I find an example, I will give an example of this, but okay, this one with this says, for instance, so this kind of information still we see. For instance, when you do ticket booking, airline ticket or bus or train ticket, you see that they still use some code because they want to keep the data file short and simple. For instance, like if this kind of if your data is like this, a record contains like this, for instance, they may know that this is the flight number. Okay, they may define this as original, okay, airport code, and maybe the destination airport code, and maybe the number of passengers, and maybe the average ticket, something like this. So this is the concept they said over here. Or the field is of defined with size for first name, last name, or something. So but this kind of data, like for instance here, what they use here, they use comma as a separator. So every time they get a comma, so they make this as a field, and they put this data in another field or another variable, and they put this one another field, then they put this one another field. Every time they got a comma, they put this value in another and one field, so this will complete a record. And whenever they got a new line or it says carry as return, then return, they start with another new record. So in our program we can do that as well as. So here in this case the delimiter is a comma, is comma separator delimiter. Okay. So as I told you that we need to open data file based on our intention, whether we want to read in a data file or we want to write we want to write in a data file or we want to read from a data file. So if our intention is to read from a data file, then in most languages like most languages has reader class, they call it stream reader. So in file operation you will hear the word stream, because this is a stream means flow. So data are read or write as a flow of characters or string. So they say they have a good name like stream reader, or say file reader, or file writer, or stream writer. So writer is used to write in a data file. Okay, and at the end of this operation, so for instance we have stream reader, this class will be built-in class. We don't need to develop any class that will the core class. We don't need to develop. The core classes are already developed in the programming languages. So we just want to know which classes we need to use and in which format we need to use. For instance, in order to open a data file for reading from a data file, if we use stream reader, R for reader, then at the end we will use, that will be our stream reader object. We will use that object to close the data file. Similarly, if we use stream writer object, then we will use stream writer.close to close the data file. This is C# format. Okay, these classes are in C#, but C# and also is similar in C++. And in Java we have a little bit different class name. For instance, in Java we have file output stream. Okay, that is, so in Java we is actually file operation. File operation. Let me go from here. So you are familiar with scanner class, right? So to take keyboard input, to input take from a keyboard, we use scanner and system.in.read line or read character method or read method. Okay, like scanner file. Okay, so says scanner file. Scanner class is used to scan from a file. Okay, but on top of this in Java actually there is a file class. File, if is when class name if is in uppercase, there is a file class in Java and also in C++, C#. There is a file class. File class is mainly used to do file management, or we say file manipulation. For instance, create a data file, close a file, for create a data file to see, create a directory to see where this file is located, what is the file size, like something in order to see the do some basic operations on file. So this is file class. So that we use, like for instance, we say new file, and if a file name is given as an argument, string argument, so that means a new file will be created. So we are not giving any name over here for this object. So this object will be created for one time. So this is an anonymous object, and this file, whatever the file will be created, the scanner constructor will use that file. So actually there are two lines over here, two statements over here. We could give this statement separately. Okay, or for instance here this statement can be written, this one statement can be written as a combination of two statements, like these two statements. For instance, how if we say file, data file, whatever object we give name, equal to new files like phone list.txt. So that means there will be a file object, data file object, name data file, and later we will pass this object as the argument of the scanner constructor. Okay. So file operator. So actually, whenever you see that this, like you see that this kind of statement one together, or sometime some programmers or authors they write this line, and when even you will be an expert, then you will write in this way. Okay. So these are the codes, either these two line or only single line is used to open a data file for input mode. Okay, similarly for output mode, if you want to open a data file, okay, for instance the phone list.txt, we need to say that this file is already exist. Okay, so then we use, okay, file output stream object, okay, file output stream class, and we see that file output stream object, we are opening that data file in, this is the mode we want to write this mode, maybe this is one line or read only mode. Read only is false. Okay, this is the read only mode, read only is false. So then we say there is another Printwriter class. This is in Java. There is a called Printwriter class. We use this previous object as an argument to the constructor of this field writer. So actually these two lines work together. So initially it should be, it might be is confusing, but one thing that unless you have tested, you don't need to memorize a lot bunch of code. You can, whenever you do some practice, you will remember some lines of code. That should be sufficient. And at the end of file IO operation, we close the data file. Closing data file is very simple. Just there is a close method. Okay. The Printwriter class, there is a mainly in Java, there is a Printwriter class. That class contains some methods in order to print, okay, something, either to a data file, either to a text data file, or on console. That means on monitor. So we are familiar with println method, right? So println method, that is it, or print or println method, they takes different types of arguments. These are overloaded methods. And close file is very simple. Let's see how many slides we do have. We have only a few more slides. Okay. So there are software engineering tips. One thing that says calling the close method is optional when the program finishes executing. All the resources of any unclosed file are released, but it is a good practice to close the method. However, especially if you will be opening a number of files or opening same files in multiple times, you should close the data file. Do not close the standard input, output, or arrow devices. However, they are intended to remain open. So that there's a tips that it says that at the end of your program you should close your data file. That's nothing else. There are some code snippets to open or write data files. So these are in C# code. Okay, and let me see. And this is in Java code. is in C sharp again, in Java. Okay, we got it. So one thing that maybe we can see, so this we will use this. Okay, this is a format. This is not a complete program. Okay, I will see a complete program. Let me open my Eclipse. In Java, there is a some methods. It's called has next or next line. Okay, has next method actually it returns either true or false value. So read.hasNext, while read.hasNext, hasNext method returns something. For instance, if it finds something to the next any character, then it returns true. So if it does not find after the cursor position, then it returns false. So this method is used to check whether we have more characters remaining in our data file to read. So you will see that in our program code we will use this kind of operation while loop. It takes a condition, however, that is true condition, boolean condition. So this method it returns a boolean value as next. So this program is this code snippet, it says it will create a data file, txt file, data.txt name. Okay, and it will be created on current directory, current path, and delimiters will be used as comma, and actually it will read from the data file whatever character, whatever it has, the file will be open. So like this program is used to read the data from like this kind of data. Let me see some live program in order to, so maybe tonight I will see with Java, and in our next lecture we will see some file operation with C sharp. But in my GitHub project we have programs for C sharp as well as. Oh, sorry, I have a new computer. I don't have. I don't have the project here. CSE1322 Java. This one, right? So let me call on this project. Okay, once I clone this project, I can get code from there. File, import existing project into workspace. This one, right? Okay, so this one. Okay, it has a package called file input output operation. How can I make the larger font? Oh yeah, plus, right? Command plus. Okay. Let us see some live course with Java program. How to so this program is very fast one. It will tell us. It says how to open a data file. Okay. So the okay, one thing that all data files. So when you do most of the data file operations require that you will use exception handling mechanism. For instance, if you do not use this, then this is the file writer class. This will create an exception. So what kind of exception is this one? Can anyone please remember? Checked or unchecked? Yes. It is a checked exception. Okay. All checked exceptions are checked during program compile time, right? So this is compile time. I did not execute or run the program yet. Okay, so either I need to put this within a try catch block. So within a try catch block, or I need to use a throws declaration. So using throws is simple. So I like to use this one. So what it will do, it will create a data file name myname_mokhtar.txt file, and the file will be, so if there is a good format, if we say dot then /, it will create the data file in the current directory. Okay, so what is the current directory? Okay, so for instance, if we go to this project, then the open show in System Explorer. Okay, so this is my program file location. You see that this is my file location. Okay, and let me run this program. You see that I do not have this file yet here. So if I run this program, as soon as I run this program, okay, there is no display method. I did not put any system.out.println method. So there is no output over here, but it should create a file within the, what is my location? Why is to, how can I make a larger icon? Here. Okay. You see file IO operations. What is that one? Let me discard this one. Okay, so program compiled. It should create a file. What is it creating? Okay, I understand. Not in the source, but workspace. I go to this bin. Huh? Well, I cannot see. Oh yeah. So this is okay. this is, it will create the one, this is the current directory. Okay, so here is created, right? This one, right? Okay. So this line, file line will create a new file, just name whatever name I give. Okay, so if I use other extension, the doc extension, then it should create that file. You see the doc file created. So if we open this file is blank because we have not put any data on in it, right? Okay, so the blank file. So that's one thing that we just so far we saw that is creating a data file is easy, not too much code. Okay, but really we need to give focus on how to write on data file and how to read from data file. Okay, so our next program, so if we run this program, then it will create a data file named test.txt. okay, so if we see, we do not have test.txt. If we run this, okay, 13 is not supported. What is that one? I don't know. This is my old program. It created test.txt just right today at 7:20. So now it is 7:20 p.m. Okay, and let us see a few more programs. Okay, all codes are together, although it is clumsy, so I put all in one place. So if we run this program, then let us understand this statement will create a data file named test.txt. okay, so this dot slash means it will create the within local directory, so this root directory, whatever it is. Okay, so if you want to make it this within another subdirectory, then you can write the subdirectory name after that. Okay, so for instance, you say subdirectory name over here, then it will create on that location. Okay, just it will create a local directory, and it will give you this statement: a file named test.txt is open for you. Write something and press enter to save. Okay, so in order to do save operation or writing operation, there are some in Java we're talking about. There are some methods. One of these is file output stream. Okay, file output stream class. You see that this class discuss this one. This class, it uses the file whatever you open over here. You can put the file name over here, or you could put the file outright stream. This you can put this over here, this name over here. Okay, and it has buffer reader. Buffer reader is it holds the whatever characters or you type in using keyboard. It holds all those characters in a case buffer, that means a temporary holder. Okay, and at the end, okay, so when you say buffer reader, you will see the last one, buffer reader BR. So buffer reader, it reads all by line, and what it does, it goes all the way into the file and writes everything at a time together. Okay, so there is a Let me see other files. So let me run this program. Let me run this program and see what happens. Okay, file name text.txt is open for you. Write something and hello my file. Just okay. So when I press enter, so this data, only this up to this, before I press enter, this will be written in the data file. So if we go to the file location, I'm sorry, this one, right? So if I open with txt, you see that it's tiny. Okay, whatever I wrote before I press enter, this data are stored in file. Okay, so these few lines, are just used to write into a data file, so that we have not written code yet to read from the data file. Okay, so there are separate sets of data. Okay, one thing that I want to recommend you, not just copy and paste this program, type in this program. Okay, then when you type in, then most probably then you will understand something line by line, and if you, it's better if you do some mistake. If you do some mistakes and while running your program you will get some error message, and then you will read the error message and try to understand, when do Google search what are the causes for the message, then you will be able to do it. But if you copy and paste the entire program and then you will see that it's running okay, then you will not understand. Okay, so the next program, so the next program, it will open that data file. Okay, sorry, no. Okay, the next program actually is used in a different way to write in the file. The first program we used Bufferedreader. Okay, and the second program, there are alternative way that we use. We can use a system.read method and we can use write method. So the first one we use write method, but it's differently way. Bufferedreader, since the Bufferedreader holds the entire content and write all together. Okay, but alternatively there is another method that is called, say, read method, that reads the character by character, one character at a time. So you can, instead of the Bufferedreader method, you can use this read method. So that's alternative way. So if you know multiple ways, then better that in some programs you will see this thing, and in another program you will see another thing. Okay, so here, okay, so the previous program we see, you see the Bufferedreader, we use for loop, and one of the slides, where the last slides, okay, so here this part, it says while, that means new line, while and until you press enter. So instead of this, sometime if you say, if you give like this Q, so until you press the Q in uppercase, everything you will be able to write it. Okay, so for instance, if I run this program, okay, so press not enter, okay, Q to add, not enter, it will be Q to add. Okay, I will fix it. So even if I write multiple lines, even I press enter, it will not go. Okay, so as soon as I press control, the uppercase Q, then it will go. Okay, so the Q will not be written here in my data file. Okay, so but everything else. right? So it can write multiple lines. Okay, similarly, there are multiple ways to read from a data file. One of them is called, if we use Bufferedreader, okay, so then we can read the whole thing one together all at a time, and this is the use of Bufferedreader method. Okay, and there is also example using the read line method. Okay, so this program actually it is larger. What it does actually, it in one file, first of all it opens a data file, it creates a data file. Whatever you will type on data file, that will be saved, and after that it will reopen that data file again, and it will show you the content of the data file. The content will be displayed on monitor. Okay, but if you want to display the things on to a keyboard, if you have something that you have in your data file, and if you want to send the content of the data file into a printer, you can do that. I have some programs, maybe I will show you how to do that. So this program, if I run this program, okay, data file name myfile.txt is opened, and enter something. Let me close, just let me type in this. See, I did not try this. If I enter something, what happens? Hello. Oh, sorry, actually whenever I press enter, it's gone. Actually whatever I said, I copied this line and I paste it. As soon as I paste it, it display my the content. So let me open that file, myfile.txt, that's just created. Okay, actually what happens, let me rerun this program again. Okay, if I run, instead of typing, I want to copy and paste over here. Okay, so if I paste, as soon as I paste over here, I want to see how many times it takes. As soon as I press enter, that whatever before I pasted, before I press the enter key, even if I type in or I use copy paste command, whatever I put, that will be saved in my data file. So you see that. So this time these things are saved in data file. So what does this program do? This program at a time simultaneously is read and then it writes. Sorry, it writes first and then it show what are the input. Okay, so then instead of writing all of these codes together in one place, for instance, if we would develop a GUI program, then we could write this code, okay, in an action, with an action button, okay, in one place. For opening code, related code, we write this code, and for reading purpose, saving purpose, for instance, this kind of code could go within after the save button. Okay, and when you open a data file, so this is the related code. These are the related codes we can put in when we say file open a file. Okay, so file opening, closing, and reading, writing, and you see that we have one class that is called file class. File class. Okay, the file class is used to create a file or manipulate a file or do file management, file operation. And there are also other classes: file input stream, file output stream, file reader, file writer, buffer reader, buffer writer. Those are used to do file input and output operations. Okay. Okay, so this it says there is another program. For instance, if you want to write an object in a data file, then we have I have some code for this one, but these are out of this syllabus. I am not discussing this one, but these codes are here. Okay. Okay, as we discussed the file class, this file class has some methods, like for instance get name. It gives us the name of the file, and it has the absolute path file. There is a method, get absolute path method. So we will say that where is the file is located, and it has get path. It will say where this file is located. So if we run this program, so it will create this file and it will show me the absolute path. Absolute path means the entire path starting from the root. Okay, and there is a method that get path. It will say only the root directory, what is that in current location. So there are some methods in file class that we can use to do file management. And what are these? Okay, this is the different one. Write data with and close automatically. Maybe I don't know. This is another program. Okay, so these are the code for Java. If you go to my GitHub account and search for C#, this one, 1321, this one, CSE1321 review _ C#. Then I have file read write operation, file IO operation. Okay, file IO read write, file IO write all. These are the three projects I do have. Okay, so people who are taking C# program, so please copy this, get this code and run this program. Okay, it has the entire program. It has the complete code. It contains complete. There are a little bit different in code syntax and classes name in C++, C# and Java. Okay. So these are the okay. Mainly these three projects I have some programs here. Okay. Okay, so please do some practice. Anyone has any question? Sorry, I don't see you when I stay here. So next time you please sit in the middle, okay? Then you can see. Okay, that's for now. Have a good night, everybody. Give me one second.
Next Thursday.
Yes.
Okay.
Text is on next Thursday. Please follow the schedule. Give me 1 second, please. I'm trying to close it. It got stuck. Shift command D.
I just wanted to show you what I practiced so far.
You doing practice?
Yeah,
That's good.
Stuff on my GitHub.
Okay, let me see. Yes.
The text is next Thursday.
Yes.